Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Chris Hearn, CEO, founder of Fountainhead Capital out of Orlando. Chris, thanks for joining us. It's become a weekly occurrence. Katie, undisclosed, out of Washington State. I was told she's not Seattle, so she's really undisclosed. And Lance Sexton, our guru extraordinaire. Hey, we got a bunch of news. Let's go into it. First of all, Lance, give an elevator pitch for your webinar. Now, what we're doing is we're going to do the webinar tomorrow and also a week from Wednesday. Same content, but you can choose. You can go to both, either or. Anyway, go ahead, Lance.
Well, the 50-10-6 finally released, and we're going to go through and look at what changes were made, talk about the areas of importance in the new 50-10-6. Bob, I've had enough hours over the last couple days in the 50-10-6. There's some fun things to talk about in it, and we're going to try to get you as a participant lender ready to underwrite loans after October the 1st using the 50-10-6.
Lance, I don't know if I should be impressed or scared that you're one of the few who have actually read the whole thing.
I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, Bob. Look at my hair. If you could see my eyes, but yes, I've been through every page.
All right. Good for you. Hey, let's go to the poll questions. How many express loans have you done over 350? And Lance, go ahead and give us. Yeah, and Lance, give us the dates again. It's $1 million until when, Lance?
January 1st.
And then at January 1st, it reverts to 350, correct?
Unless there's any sort of action, it goes back to 350.
None, 68%, a few, 29%, a majority, 3%. Lance, comment on the majority. That's interesting.
A few majority. I'm curious as to how many people. Of course, the Express Loan Program is a great way to more efficiently get an SBA product out to the borrower. As a participant lender, there's a little more flexibility for you. Of course, there's a lower guarantee, but, with the increase for a short period of time, I figured a lot of people would be utilizing the Express program on deals over 350.
Chris, as CEO of a non-bank lender, what is your strategy?
We haven't done any Express loans. So our strategy is we've pivoted back to 7-8.
Well, the follow-up is, do you plan on using Express, or are you going to just go for the larger guarantee?
Not at this time, but I mean, it's definitely something that we'll contemplate later this fall, particularly if as Lance said, if they go beyond January 1st, then we'll definitely something we'll consider.
Yeah, and I know the new SOP addresses that as well. So I'm a fan of that. I mean, go to $1 million. It's a 50-50 split with the government, true partnership, and there's no downside. You can choose to participate in the larger loans, or you can choose to go traditional 7As. So I see no downside to that. I got the impression, Katie, in talking to John Riosty, that they will extend that. What is your opinion?
I haven't really heard anything yet, but I've heard a lot of people saying hopefully it will get extended. So we'll see.
Well, since we brought up that, I don't think we had it. What's going on in Washington? Anything?
The Senate is still out until after Labor Day, which is next week. So hopefully next week we're going to start seeing some more action in Congress.
Chris, I know you're have been doing a great job in lobbying on behalf of the industry. What do you see happening after Labor Day?
I think we're going to have something here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The wheels of progress started to move a little bit more this morning after yesterday and last week weren't doing much, but there's been a lot of discussion. My phone's been blowing up a lot this morning, and I think people are starting to talk, and I think the sides are getting a little bit closer. They're still far apart, but I think I'm not going to be shocked if something.
Yeah, but they're close on this particular single issue. Right. They're close. It's other issues that are clouding the picture.
Yeah, but I just hope they can bring it up separately from, tying it to a continuing resolution, which of course is what's been talked about for the last few
Yeah,
days.
I don't see Washington going nuclear and just shutting down completely. Especially with a lot of
It is 2025, so anything is possible.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah,
Let's
I
not
have a
jinx
great
it.
track record right now of a missing prediction, so maybe I should shut up. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Anyway, obviously we'll stay on top of that. Hey, this is it's actually, I was just going to say minor story. I think it's more of a major story. But is your footprint affected by your state's contemplation of taxing PPP loan forgiveness? What's the issue, Katie?
Well, what's happening is there's about 19 states, and I think we'll get into this in a later slide, with the ability to tax PPP funds that have been properly used. So that will affect a lot of those small businesses that thought this was going to be a free ride after spending all the money on payroll. So it's definitely a concern for a lot of small businesses.
Now, we're talking at the state level, not the federal level, Lance.
Correct.
Lance, go ahead, Lance.
The challenge I see with this, Bob, is just going to throw a scenario out there. You've got a restaurant that's barely reopened. They get a PPP loan. They bring their staff back. They pay them with PPP loan proceeds. And then, Bob, maybe they open up at 30% of capacity or 50% of capacity. So they're still not at full capacity. So, they're slowly getting back on their feet. The PPP loan was very important to get them back on their feet. And then, bam, at the end of the year, you're going to hit them with taxes on the PPP loan forgiveness. I know this is a state issue. The states of Florida and Texas don't have to worry about it. I would think, Chris, since you don't have a state income tax there, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But I think you're bringing up the bigger point here, Lance, which is this was not the intention of the law. IRS is not going to be taxing people, and I have a feeling there's going to be some serious outcry at some state legislators to introduce bills to prevent this. Yeah.
The last thing we need to do is take businesses limping along, trying to get back on their feet. The PPP loan program, they extended that olive branch, brought the employees back, paid them, then we're going to tax them. It doesn't need to happen.
Well, and restaurants have such small margins anyway. Speaking of restaurants, what percentage of restaurant sales are down in the city of San Francisco?
That's a tough one, Bob. If I had to pick a category, if I had to pick a category, Bob, I'm going 50 to 75%.
Chris, what's your guess?
I'm going to say 75 to 90%.
You're both wrong. It's 91%.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that scary? Yeah, I mean, and when your sales are down over 90%, you don't have a business. So, anyway, it's and I think San Francisco's still under what we have in Southern California, which is we're all still on lockdown. So it is not good, and we keep on reading. There's a bunch of restaurants. I'm not a foodie like Chris is, but there's a bunch of great restaurants in San Francisco who will not be reopening. Sadly. Hey, let's talk about the new SOP. Katie, what do we got?
So there were some format changes, and I think now that we have Chris and Lance on today, I think we're going to discuss those and maybe go through some of the other updates. So, nice punt.
Hey.
Lance, you're up.
Bob, one thing I can tell everyone, it's easier to use than the old format. It's easier to find information in the SOP. It's organized better in my opinion, and I absolutely adore the appendices. I can't wait to do the presentation tomorrow. Chris, I've never spent time on the appendix section of the SOP, but they did some cool things in the appendices this time.
That's what I briefly read this morning, but I have not had a chance to get through it myself. So I did note that for folks wanting to get PLP designation, they've lifted the bar a little bit to 10 funded loans, for instance, if someone's on here who is contemplating that. So, but beyond that and what you're noting, Lance, I haven't dug in that much. I'm trying to, the steam's still coming off the engine from PPP, and we're just pivoting back as of yesterday to regular business.
I found it kind of curious, Chris, that they released the 50-10-6 now. I mean, I expected it early in the year, and as time went on, I thought we won't see it until 2021, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it is.
Yeah, it's no rest for the weary, right? I was a little surprised to see this as well, this quickly.
I got this coin in the mail, if you can see this here.
Yeah.
Like a Fountainhead logo, and someone had to explain here. It's down with PPP. What does that mean, Chris?
Well, I'm going to date myself.
I have no idea. I
know. Well, it's already a collector's edition, clearly, because it's spring 2020, and we didn't anticipate it going into summer 2020 of PPP. It's a challenge coin that I use to commemorate my team and some of the folks that have been very helpful to us over these last 6 to 9 months going through PPP. But I'm a child of the. I was born in the early 70s, which means I grew up in the 90s, and there was a hip hop song, which some of you know, OPP, that was rolling around in a lot of our heads early on in the PPP process, and we sort of appropriated the down with PPP as that was kind of our motto, and we couldn't get it out of our head for a while there. It has a different meaning, of course, OPP, and I won't go into that here on this family show. But anyway, yeah. So that's what it was, a challenge coin. For those of you who know,
Chris, people may not. What is a challenge coin?
Yeah, so it's something that comes out of the military. It started 7,500 years ago when a small group, whether it was a battalion or platoon or what have you, would sort of overcome some impossible odds. They would oftentimes would customize a challenge coin, give it to the members that survived. And the interesting thing is it's meant to come out when you get together again. And if someone issues a challenge, everybody's supposed to carry it with them on their person. And if they don't, then they have to buy rounds of drinks. Of course, if you actually challenge everyone and everyone has it on them, then the person that the challenge has to buy the drinks. So it's just kind of a nice token. And like I said, I did it for my team. And I thought it made a lot of sense, having gone through on the economic front lines of PPP for the last 6 months.
Katie, do you know the song they're talking about?
No, I think I'm a little young.
Well,
I'm close to age. We both know. We'll have Joseph
Chris,
later. I'm sure you know.
Chris, I perfectly appreciate the rap reference from the 90s. For those who didn't know, in the 70s and 80s, I disc jockeyed college dance. So
no,
chance to spin that song a couple of times.
Renaissance man.
There you go. Learn something new.
Let's go. Okay, thank you for memory lane. What's going on? What's in the new SOP, Lance?
Well, there's a lot of information in the SOP. A lot of the 50-10-6 is just bringing in the CFRs that have released throughout the last couple years and putting it in the SOP. But there's some new guidance in what we call different SBA loan products. There's some guidance on the Express program. It helped to define the loan terms in a few areas, in particular poultry farm loans, which there's some interesting information there. But there's a lot of clarification throughout the SOP. There are not any huge surprises, but there is quite a bit of detail that we're going to discuss tomorrow about.
Great. I believe we have another slide of changes. There we go. Lance, this is all, go ahead.
Well, there's a new 4506P that we're going to start using almost immediately. And as well as we got rid of a form that many of us have not used for a long time, the 912, unless you have somebody check yes on one of the key questions on the 1919. We've not had to use the 912 a lot. We use it some, but that form's going away.
Great. We have some questions. Julie asked the question, says, regarding the SLP, I can only find a Word document. Will there be a searchable PDF? The answer is yes, Julie. Go to, well, first of all, do we have it in the handouts today? We had it yesterday.
Word doc. It is a Word document. I think they did that this time to make it a little more searchable. I think it's protected.
Oh, it is.
Shouldn't be able to edit, but it is a Word doc.
Okay. So there.
And by the way, this Word document, that's one of the features. It's easily searchable, Julie, with a control F.
Great. And this is a question, Chris, I'm going to direct this to you. This is from Russ. And Russ is still concerned about the lender's responsibility when we start talking about forgiveness on the applicant's documents and confirm certain things. This contrasts with the statement of good faith. And he quoted a thing where the lender must calculate the borrower's calculations, whatever. My answer on this is, first of all, don't worry about it until we see what the threshold is. Do you still see that 150 threshold coming into play, Chris?
I do. I think there's a tremendous amount of traction on that. In fact, I would be shocked at this point if it doesn't occur sometime late this month.
Yeah. What would you tell Russ?
Well, what exactly is the question, Bob? I don't know.
The question is that Russ understands that we have a good faith clause in the legislation, but when you get into the specifics on one of the IFRs, it gives a very complicated calculation of how to calculate cash flow and compensation and mortgage payments and whatever.
Well, as it stands right now, unfortunately, that is the responsibility of the lender to do the good faith review of the borrower's calculation of how much they should be forgiven, and then to send that on to SBA. There is an appeal process. There's going to be some borrowers who are not happy about what the lenders have reviewed and certified to SBA that will be forgiven. So there is an appeal process that's set up. But yeah, I mean, it's that's been some of the concern is you start talking about a lot of the biggest participating lenders in this program. We did thousands and thousands of these loans, having to do a lot of this paperwork as well as the borrowers themselves having to do a lot of this paperwork and submitting all this documentation, as opposed to what I've talked about before, which is, like when you're filing your taxes, you have to maintain that documentation in case you're audited, which I would argue, which is what we should have here. And that's what some of the new proposals have been. But as it stands right now, these things have to be submitted. And it's going to be logistically, it's going to be a little problematic unless somebody's using some technology solutions out there.
Lance, is the 2019 tax return, this is from Rahman, do we need the tax return for forgiveness, for approving forgiveness? And then side note, many have not yet prepared those returns.
Here's the thing, Bob. If the tax return was used as a basis for calculating payroll on the application, then they're not going to have the 19 tax return for forgiveness, but they're going to have payroll reports, either a 941 or a 941 and the state payroll tax reporting they do for the quarter. But most businesses should have their 19 returns by now.
Yeah.
But in the forgiveness guidance, it talks about payroll tax forms. It doesn't necessarily talk about tax returns. But some of the applicants, as Chris and I both know, some of the applicants, the basis for the amount of their PPP loan was their tax return.
Yeah, they're scheduled.
So in those cases, I believe the tax return will be necessary.
Yep.
Real quick, Katie, what is this chart showing us, this map?
So this particular chart is just showing us the states that could possibly decide to do a tax plan in which PPP forgiveness would be taxed, those states are in yellow. And the reason is just because of the way that it's set up, they have to vote on their state tax rules for income tax on a regular basis. And one of those states, I believe North Carolina, I could be wrong, has already said that they will not be doing that anymore and they won't be taxing it, and they voted on it. Other states like California and Oregon are hinting that they do want to tax PPP loan forgiveness. And so we'll just kind of see based on their votes what they decide to do.
Lance, do we need to worry about this in our cash flow calculation?
Well, I think it's an absolute yes, Bob, because it's something to have concern about. But Chris and Chris, I'm speaking for you. You can jump in. Surely surely Congress will get on board. Somebody will come out with a directive not to tax PPP loan forgiveness. I hope. I don't know that Congress can do that. Maybe they can. Maybe they can't. But it will be very unfortunate if small businesses that are struggling end up being taxed, and it causes them even more financial anxiety.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this is as much a political issue as it's just, doing the right thing and following the intention of, if these were supposed to be effectively forgivable federal grants, if you use the proceeds in the correct way, the intended way, then I find it a bit of a gross, an overreach on some of these state governments if they decide to then tax it. That's the surest way to drive out the business community out of some of these states. Because it's just salt in the wounds. I mean, I just don't think it was never the intention. And it smacks of them trying to take advantage of the situation of here's another opportunity to increase some tax revenue, and this is a bad time to do it. It really is.
Yeah,
It really is.
We have a question from Shane. I'm going to hold that over till tomorrow. We're running. Let's go ahead and do it. Any updates or feedback on whether or not there will be a one-page forgiveness application for loans of $150 or less? That's an easy answer, Shane. We don't know.
We all believe that it will happen. Don't you, Chris? I just think it's time.
Yeah.
Timing.
I think give it till the end of the month, and I think we'll be pleasantly surprised that this may materialize.
Yeah. And we do have the SOP in the dashboard, so feel free to click on that, or you can also obviously Google search it as well. If you want to register for the webinar easily, just send an email to Joseph. We'll do all the paperwork. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time. Thanks a lot.
Have a great day.